Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 11th, 2026. This meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and recorded for playback online. While participating in this meeting, you're consenting to your likeness and audio being used for this purpose. So the first item on our agenda at 7 o'clock is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Matt?
Just that annual town meeting is on Saturday, March 28th at 9 a.m. at the Westford Academy Gymnasium. I know, as was mentioned during the select board meeting last night, the postcards went out to, but I think there may have been a typo. Watch the select board meeting to see what the...
It said 9 p.m.
Yeah.
It's 9 a.m. and it says 9 p.m.
One place it says 9 p.m.
Oh.
Yeah, so again, 9 a.m., please attend. And also, the town manager's office has a survey out trying to gauge anticipated community attendance at annual town meeting. So if people watching are attending, please take the survey and respond.
Do any members of the audience have something for open forum? No. Okay, moving on to our 7:05 p.m. agenda item. It's a continuation of a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Jack and Clara Farmstead LLC, 400 Littleton Road.
Thank you. For the record, Brian Goodrow with Hancock Associates. So we are in, I guess, two updates. First, we had planning board last week. It was a good meeting, and they are actively drafting a decision. So that is winding down and wrapping up. The second point, I am in receipt of the draft order of conditions, and we don't have any comments.
So, just to clarify, the planning board's closed the public hearing.
I don't know if they closed
Did they
the public
close it?
hearing, but they were given...
They're drafting a decision.
Yeah,
Okay.
they
That we
gave
know.
direction to Jeff to draft the decision. So we are going to be closing, or we're anticipating closing out that process next week.
Okay. So have members of the commission had a chance to review the special conditions that were in our meeting packet? Any comments, questions?
I just had one after, unfortunately, after I drafted and sent out the special conditions to the applicant. In the northerly detention basin here, so kind of heading back towards the ice cream and the front of the property, there's an 12-inch pipe with which will discharge overflow from the basin towards the wetland resource area. Again, it does have a riprap spreader apron, is to be located outside the 50-foot wetland buffer. Similarly to the special condition, I think it was number 35, which discusses field locating and confirming the edge of the erosion controls and the limit of clearing. When this is proposed to be installed, if we can amend that special condition to allow for also just kind of a site visit to confirm that, we're not try to locate that outfall pipe so as to not remove trees within the buffer, to the maximum extent practicable.
Exactly. And the conversation I just had with Matt, we are flexible with the location of that. Topographically, elevation-wise, we're not, because that's what's driving where it is. But if you look at the plan itself, there's a parallel contour with that outfall. So if we need to move it 5 feet north or south, we can certainly do that with Matt's assistance during that sidewalk.
Yeah, just wherever, if we can minimize the amount of actual trees getting removed there.
Exactly.
And then also, particularly more so, I would propose to add a special condition that, to the maximum extent practical, where trees are being saved within the wetland buffer and at the limit of clearing, that the roots be cut as opposed to, ripped with a excavator bucket, just again, with the intention that by cutting the tree roots, they'll be able to not be as exposed to pests and diseases, and hopefully the viability of the trees going forward will be enhanced, as opposed to just a bucket ripping right at the edge of the erosion controls. So if there's no...
Nope, that's perfectly fine. And again, I would reference kind of that pre-construction sidewalk. Once the limits are staked out, the erosion controls there, we can discuss, what we can and can't save.
Mhm. And so that would be added as special condition
61, 60.
61.
Okay. Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay. So can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions as amended?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Excellent, thank you very much for your time this evening.
Okay, moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item. Close enough to 7:10? There's a public hearing for the Mass Electric Company, Forge Village Road, right-of-way between Town Farm Road and Flag Road.
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, March 11th, 2026 at 7:10 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Massachusetts Electric Company for the replacement of distribution poles, switches, and overhead conductors, installation of push braces and helical ground-mounted anchors, and associated tree trimming and removal of trees within 200 feet of Otwell Brook and/or 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and bordering land subject to flooding within the right-of-way of Forge Village Road between Town Farm Road and Flag Road.
Hi, I'm Joshua Surratt from Epsilon, here to represent Massachusetts Electric Company for the project. As stated, part of the overall project is to replace 82 existing electric distribution poles, install 4 new push braces, install 26 new helical ground-mounted anchors, replace 2 existing switches, and replace existing overhead conductors along Forge Village Road and Patton Road. Proposed work will require tree trimming and select removal of 45 trees within the roadway easement to provide safe and reliable clearance. And the purpose of the project is to continue to provide reliable electric service for existing residential customers. I understand that this project was initially proposed to the Commission under a maintenance notification letter, and that an RDA was requested for the tree removals. So that is the primary subject of this RDA. Portions of the proposed work basically select poles as listed in the document. There's 2 tables provided, one for proposed exempt activities, and it provides the pole location as well as which resource areas it's in there. And then the second table shows the proposed tree removals, and it also notes where those, in which resources those trees are located. And so, although the majority of the electric distribution work is considered exempt under 310 CMR 10.2.2A2, which allow for the maintenance, repair, or replacement, but not substantial enlargement of existing utility structures, the 9 trees technically do not meet that exemption. And so that's really the summary of the work. I can talk about restoration and things like that and the nature of the work after, but I'd like to just allow time for any questions about the basic purpose of the project and how it pertains to the act and the bylaw.
Which those 9 trees okay?
Okay,
One is on the Patton Road.
so,
Okay.
actually, so first the commission will
Okay,
ask
sorry,
their
sorry,
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
Yes,
I
the-
will follow your process.
Later, I will open it up to members of the audience who have questions.
Okay?
Okay, because
Okay.
we received this letter because I believe on Patton Lane.
Okay,
That was why we say if it affect us, then we come.
okay,
So that's why we are concerned only on the Patton Road or Patton Lane.
okay.
Okay, then the last question first.
So any questions from members of the commission? Matt, I believe you had a question about the switches?
Yes, and Josh was very helpful in kind of explaining to me that they're attached to the, while the plans may show the switch, if I can, it's easier if I show it. Say the switch location,
What sheet are we on?
this is sheet 6, right at the end of Flag Road. There's a switch locate, or proposed to be replaced there. Its location, shown location appears close to the flagged wetland resources, but in discussing with the applicant's representative, that's on the pole and adjacent to the overhead conductor. So that's not really any in-ground disturbing, that's there's no pad associated with it, there's no ground disturbance. It was more so, it's on the pole, it's, very, again, work will be done from a bucket truck on the roadway. No real disturbance for the wetland, towards the, for the wetland resource.
That's correct, and the reason that we showed that separately from the general overhead conductor was just for simplification of the mapping, because there's a lot going on, so we decided to not show all of that conductor and just say basically all the conductor between the range of poles to be replaced will also be replaced, and then in addition, there's these 2 special components that will be replaced.
Okay. Questions from members of the audience?
Okay, answer questions. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you come to the mic and
Okay,
tell
what's
us.
your question, sir?
Okay,
Just want to know that which part of Patton Road is affected.
So on page 7,
I think if I, the directions is, where's the pattern road, where's high school, so we can.
so this is the high school.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't catch who you guys were.
What, your address is 1 Patton Lane?
Where's three pattern?
3, sorry. So the proposed switch replacement, again, is located at the intersection of Hartford Road and Patton Road.
Okay.
And that's, I think all that's being replaced at this location.
Correct, yeah.
There's no tree removal.
No, there's no tree removals proposed, and there's no
So
poles.
it actually doesn't affect us, then why have us come
No,
here?
no, listen is good, so listen.
but, so some of it is the regulations state that people within a certain linear distance have to be notified.
I think that's good. For us,
Yeah.
the knowledge, that's
So-
good.
Because we also have an easement in our lane, the Patton Lane. So that was why we thought it was
How is there?
That
the easement,
Okay,
the
yeah.
utility easement by the Massachusetts Electric. We
Yeah.
thought it was our easement that go to Barrister Drive.
Okay,
So
well,
it's different.
Yeah, so just this location here.
but also for future reference, when you get a letter like that, and if you have questions, there's a phone number for the town's conservation office on the bottom.
Yeah.
You can call that to ask questions and to find out what's going to be covered in the public hearing to help you decide if you need to be here or not.
Sounds good.
So you can call ahead in the future.
Sounds good, thank you.
Okay,
Well, good to know.
yep,
Since I'm here, just listen to what's good. So the changes made in the pattern lane intersect with the.
You really, sir, you should stand up at the microphone, because the
If-
microphone broadcasted onto Westford cable, so people will hear you this way.
So I'm just try to get clarifications. So the change you're going to make is between the pattern roads and Hartford, right? So the change is going to replace nine trees?
Not in this area, it's just one part of the overhead lines
Okay.
of the utility poles.
Okay.
It's just one component there,
Okay.
nothing on the ground,
Oh, okay.
and no trees in this
Okay.
location.
So is it replace the equipment?
Yes,
So change old to new one?
correct.
Okay, so sounds good. But you do mention about the 9 trees, where's the locations?
That's along Forge Village Road primarily,
okay.
and then up at the intersection of Flag and Forge Village.
So you identify on the place?
Yeah, and they're, it's shown with sort of a white cross mark there, like he's pointing it out.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are trees being removed that are within basically a resource area that's protected. And then the other tree trimming is outside of wetland resource areas, and that's shown with a white cross polygon that he's pointing
I
to.
see.
Yeah, and all those trees are marked in the field currently because they've already been approved by the tree warden for removal.
I see. Those are tall trees or those are small trees?
They're mature trees, they're big
Okay,
trees, yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Are they
All right.
going to be replaced?
That's one question we anticipated, so we definitely were wanting to talk to you about what you would like to do for mitigation for those tree removals. Obviously, plantings under the power line is not really compatible with clearance and safety, so Grid would be happy to do a couple of things, which would be if there's like a conservation area on site and we could do plantings there, or we could do like an in lieu fee type of thing, like a certain dollar amount per tree that would just go to the commission.
I know the tree warden has, I don't know, I was not prepared for this. There aren't particularly any specific conservation parcels along Forge Village Road. The town forest is, but that's heavily forested as is.
Yeah, okay.
We do bushes instead, trees?
Or, yeah, is things like tall shrubs or things that don't grow more than, say, 10 or 15 feet, something that would provide wildlife habitat, but wouldn't be something that would grow tall. But I guess the shrubs.
But also within the town, but also within the roadway right-of-way.
That's true.
I don't think the DPW director would be, I mean, it's,
They-
I don't think they're, I know typically, you know, when
Yeah,
a
that's
homeowner comes before the commission is certainly, you know, we look to find opportunities to replant and replace. Again, I don't think it's as necessary in this. Again, it's a part of, you know, we're trying to maintain with the intent being to maintain the electrical service distribution and kind of the clearances around it. And I don't think it's as critical as some other kind of, say,
Or
residential
You don't have
crossing.
the opportunities.
Yeah, I just think it'd be difficult.
So for example, on this map, nothing is within our jurisdiction, right? Page 1.
Correct.
It's on page 3 and 4, I believe, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, so, yeah. Beltwell Brook, where it crosses under Forge Village Road, again, was delineated, and again, the delineation is primarily the bottom of slope of the roadway, passing through the area, outside of the 100-year, the 1% annual flood risk. Again, and then further up, kind of at the corner on Forge Village Road, I forget the actual addresses, that there's, those, it's kind of very intermittent, you know, kind of separate wetland resource areas with which, you know, again, the primarily tree removal is, again, the replacement of the poles and overhead conductor is generally a minor activity when within the buffer zone and exempt under the state's Wetlands Protection Act when within a resource area in and of itself.
And if I could just add, as you know, there's many mature trees along the road. And so one of the main concerns with tree removals in and around wetlands is reduction of shading and then drying out of the wetland. Since there's a really mature canopy there, it probably would not have as much of an impact as it might in some other areas. And I would agree with like the shrub idea. which is basically that, like, the viability is probably pretty low with plowing and just things like that. So,
That close to the right of way.
yeah, exactly, because it's all within, like 5 feet of the road, essentially.
Jim?
I don't know when this was, probably 5 or 10 years ago. You might have still been Mass Electric before you became National Grid. But the electric company came before the Board of Selectmen and reached an agreement with the selectmen on how you would trim trees in the right-of-way along your power lines.
Okay.
And there was certain distances above or below the wires, certain distances to the side
Yep.
with the main trunk of the tree. And sometimes it ended up with some strange-looking cuts in the trees in order to meet the numbers. But is this still under that agreement? It's still trying to follow that, or is this a?
Yeah, whatever, National Grid, so National Grid basically because New England Power Company, the transmission line, and then Massachusetts Electric Company, the distribution line, and it's all now under National Grid. And their forestry department, or their vegetation maintenance department, basically incorporates those same very standards into their own BMP manual. So any of the stuff they would do would have been presented from that. In terms of a special condition by the tree warden, I don't have those details in what those clearances are, but typically it's about, they want to have like 25 feet of clearance.
Yeah, there were horizontal distances and vertical
Exactly,
distances,
yeah.
below the wire, above the
Correct,
wires,
yeah.
all that.
Yeah, and I don't know the specs for
Hasn't been a
that.
change to that, that's still in effect.
I would expect so because they just got approval from the tree warden this year for all the removals, and again, they were all flagged. And so whether it was a removal or the select trimming, all this information was already before the tree warden.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the notice is posted on the
the trees,
trees,
yeah.
correct, yeah.
So, it doesn't sound like there are viable options for replacing
Is
in
there something
location.
at Freedom Park that they could put?
Right, are there other opportunities?
Well, it just,
Trying to look for replacement or substitute.
Yeah, I don't, I mean, we can certainly, I know the town as part of the invasive species and tree inventory with which was done as part of the municipal vulnerability preparedness grant 3-4 years ago, they did discuss establishing a tree gift fund. I think the fund was established. I don't think that ever was funded. I mean, we could certainly, I mean, I don't know if this is, I don't have enough information to write it into, say a special condition of approval. But if, there is some desire to mitigate, we can certainly, we can kind of collaboratively work outside of the, kind of Wetlands Protection Act process and, find.
Well, if you want to close it today, what do we do?
Well, I would just,
Understanding that we can do that.
right, I mean,
Yeah.
if they're looking to do something, we can kind of work to,
it just, it doesn't become something that's a special condition where it becomes mandated. And, this sounds like a very collaborative situation, and so that can be done.
We have a letter of understanding when we decide where we're gonna do something, then.
Or just, yeah, I think, as Matt has talked about, if they're looking at a fund that can be tapped when there's an opportunity that's identified, that's probably, sounds like the way we'd want to go.
Yeah, and so like the simpler thing, if you found out what that monetary value is per tree, there could be a commitment to that, a check could get cut, and then you can do what you needed to do with it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sounds good.
well, we can get that information.
All right, sounds great.
okay, so to move this one forward, can I have a motion? So, do we have any conditions?
I mean, the only condition similar to the last one was that the cut stumps to remain, which I think was
Absolutely.
included as part of the narrative, but it's nice to just put it somewhere else as well. But that would be my only condition.
So can I have a motion to issue a conditional negative determination?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I got here in person.
Okay, so moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item. it's review the draft response to Westford Land Preservation Foundation for transfer Stony Conservation Area Conservation Restriction.
So following up from the discussion at the commission's last meeting, and the appointment with the trustee, the director from the Westford Land Preservation Foundation, kind of taking some of Margaret's verbal responses and putting them into writing, so that we can, and again, this was just, I know Margaret had a couple comments and tweaks in language, but if any of the commissioners welcome to hear.
Jim?
What exactly is this serving, what the purpose of this exchange of letters between I don't know if they're defunct yet or not, but the Westford Land Preservation Foundation and us about questions we've asked in the past? It's like
They, from my understanding, the Land Preservation Foundation, as part of finishing, as they're finishing up the transfer to the Sudbury Valley trustees, was looking to get written, kind of where things were at, a written update as to where some kind of previously discussed items were.
because them getting into the teamwork contract issues and things like that, doesn't seem like they should really be involved in it. We ask questions about the roadway, how it could be surfaced, whether we could, cart kids back and forth to camp, questions like that, yes, directly applicable. But it seems kind of strange that, they're talking about certain options that the teamwork's identified, and we don't know what the Sudbury Valley trustees is going to say. If we ask the exact same question, it could be open to interpretation. They may come to a different interpretation. So this isn't documenting.
I think it's
a
just,
decision.
I think it's just where things are at presently at the transfer, is my understanding. Again, I don't, the Sudbury Valley trustees are not, the transfer has not occurred yet, so the Westford Land Preservation Foundation is still the CR grantee of record. So.
Would you say that this is basically a confirmation of the joint positions between the Westford Land Preservation Foundation and the Conservation Commission as to where we stand on each of these, so that the position at this moment in time is recorded in something where the Westford Land Preservation and our, basically where we both are on these different topics at this point in time. So that it's basically kind of like a stake in the ground that says, on these topics, this is the decisions that have been reached at this point, or this is where this conversation is at the moment. And for the conversation the way it is at the moment is the whole thing about the EBC advisory committee or group or whatever it is, what we know, what we don't know. And just, I think it's capturing what's known at a point in time.
And that in itself doesn't have anything to do with the conservation restriction. CR didn't talk about the advisory committee. The master plan did.
Yep.
I'm very confused as to what the purpose of their letter is and why we're responding with this type of documentation. We may get, if we ask the same question in a year or two, we may get a different answer back.
So
this isn't defining an answer or a decision.
Right, I think this is just on the date of, here's where we are with these discussions. Again, some things are ongoing, again, with respect to the EBC advisory committee, it's.
That's not ongoing, but
Right, but there was a discussion about it, and here's the information that we found.
Well, and here's as much as is known at this time. Yeah.
And
Just like a record.
yeah, and again, I don't, Jim, to your point, I don't think it's just kind of providing a benchmark for where things are at with various discussions with the Land Preservation Foundation.
And
Doesn't hurt us, it's just a diary of it.
But also, it's letting us say it in our own words, as opposed to, so it's our opportunity for information and our position to be conveyed at the time. You know, what we've learned, what we know now, you know, it's our opportunity to have an input. Anyone else have comments or questions?
No, I think it's clear.
Okay. So the things that I had pointed out was when it talks about Jim Gazzo and I, because the letter is from the commission, my name should be spelled out there. And then,
Down here.
yeah, after the advisory group, comma, stating, just instead of the word that, put the word stating.
Yeah, down here. So it would read, the letter to the Westford Eagle invited residents to submit their name for the EBC advisory group, stating that the group is to quote unquote, to discuss policy and operating issues affecting the East Boston campus property and make recommendations to the Conservation Commission. Again, just a little wordsmithing. I mean, if the commission wants, again, more time to kind of consider, or we can, again, I don't think I don't know when the Land Preservation Foundation is going to the select board to approve the transfer.
Is that the next step?
That's, I think, the last step for that, well, for them before, and then I think it has to get recorded at the registry. I wish I'd actually gotten more of an actual what's going on in terms of the transfer, but again, it doesn't really change the commission and the town's role of having care and custody. I'm just communicating with a different person at a different time, and tell me when that is. So, if they're, you know, we can kind of table this to the next, you know, or if the commission's okay as is, we can date it, kind of respond to the Land Preservation Foundation with this.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue the letter as amended?
So moved. Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Who was the second? Sorry. Thanks.
So moving on to our 7:20 PM agenda item, it's a continuation of a public hearing for 219 Littleton Road. 219 Littleton owner LLC at 219 Littleton Road.
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from Farrell and Robbins. I'm going to let the consultants take the seats tonight, so I'm going to just give a quick intro and sit down. We're here tonight for a continuation, Madam Chair. With me this evening is Sean Sanger from Copley Wolf. I think you met him at the last meeting. He's the landscape architect. Katie Cruz from Hancock Associates. She's our civil engineer. And Elizabeth Bayo. She's from Redgate. She is the applicant. So since the last meeting, we have received the comments for stormwater from Ty and Bond. We're not ready to talk about it this evening, but we will be ready for the next meeting. So we will respond to those and be ready to talk about stormwater at the next meeting. I think at the next meeting as well, including stormwater, we're also going to talk about architecture a little bit. And you may say, why? We don't want to talk about architecture, but these buildings are very state-of-the-art. They're very energy efficient. I know we're going to be in your buffer zone, so I would like to talk about them a little bit, just so the board can have a full understanding about what these buildings are, how they're going to deal with water, and what their energy efficiency is like. So tonight, I think the board has slides, and Matt, is this the PowerPoint?
This was the PDF
Okay.
provided, so yeah.
Okay. So we'd like to go into depth again about buildings behind buildings A and B. We also included in this package about what was disturbed and not disturbed. I think if you look at one of the first slides, we tried to make it very clear to Madam Chair's point, as to what is the limit of disturbance today for pavement and buildings, and what are we going to disturb post-development for this project. And I'm gonna let Katie run through all of those, just so you can see. We've taken your comments very seriously. I think you can tell by what we've done behind Building B. We've taken everything out of there. The only thing that remains are the decks. And we've made sure to contain the decks so that there's a fence around each of the decks so the residents can't get direct access to behind the buildings whatsoever. The only thing we've left behind the structures is a fire access trail, and we can talk about how we're going to limit access to that with the commission, so the board and this commission and the fire department are happy. And then behind Building A, obviously we still have a little bit of access there, but Sean is going to talk about how we've dealt with that with signage, some split rail fence, and also some landscaping and some of the existing grading. So with that, I'd like to turn over to Katie Cruz just to go over some of the slides. Okay. Green bank parking. Do you want me to do it?
Sure.
Okay. So we have green banked some parking. I think the commission has asked some questions about that. What exactly does that mean? The planning board requires that we have a certain amount of parking spaces on the site. Green banking means that we have to design for it. So we actually have to show what would happen if it was pavement. We have to account for the stormwater, the design, the pavement, everything. But then we don't actually construct these spaces. They're actually waived by the planning board. The reason we do it that way is that if there's ever a problem in the future, we can go back to the planning board and this commission if we need to, and they've already been designed. So we don't have to redesign the entire project in order to put the spaces back in. But the proposal at this point is that we don't need them, and so they'll be banked but designed. So if we have to build them in the future, they're ready to go. Okay?
And are those the hatch, the diagonal hatch?
Yes, and I think somebody had asked why these were hatched, and that is why. So these actually will not be built. But they are designed and tie and bond. If you look at their review letter, I don't know if this commission has had an opportunity to look at it, but they have taken that into consideration when looking at stormwater and overall design. It's a little confusing, I know, but that's why.
Well, and, but that brings up that brings up the point of if you've got the number of parking spaces for the number of apartments, if the wellness path is going to be open to public access, wouldn't you also need additional parking spaces for any members of the public who arrive? And, you know, and some of it would be, where would that be located? And does that then basically tap into some of those banked spaces?
No. We think as a design, we have enough parking spaces for our residents and our visitors.
Okay.
The planning board guidelines require so many spaces, and we can disagree that they need so many spaces. We have to prove that to the planning board, and we ask for a waiver from their total number of spaces. So that's what we're doing at this project. We're saying we need a lesser number of spaces. That includes visitor spaces and our resident spaces. So we're asking to green bank them. We don't need them.
Okay.
But the planning board knows that we could build them if we ever needed them, and the design would allow for it. But we think there'll be enough spaces, and we can go into a little bit more detail of where we think the visitor spaces would be best once we talk about what the access to the trail, you know, once we figure out where the location of the trail is going to be. Ultimately, we can figure out where the visitor spaces would be best suited. And just so you know, the planning board's talking about that as well for bike parking. We have some bike spaces. Right now, we're showing some proposed bike parking in the existing historical barn. But they've also asked that we put some bike racks along some of these beautiful amenities, because they think that children and their parents might actually ride their bike over there, and then we'd have a bike rack next to the amenities. So we're looking at vehicle parking, and we're looking at bicycle parking as well.
No.
So you talked about moving the path around in front of Building B.
Yes.
Is that shown here?
Oh, sure. So I'll let.
Okay.
There's a laser pointer on the table.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
I think I have to do it on this one, because I don't think they work on TVs. Where are we?
Matt, can you go to the first slide in the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Oh, there, I'm on top, sorry.
It's okay, 1 second. If the PowerPoint will show the whole picture, I think. If the commission just stands by 1 second.
It's there, and then it comes around the front.
Yeah.
No, and
Okay.
then wraps down
All
and
right.
around. But yeah, so essentially and we'll talk about this a little bit.
Yeah.
We do have an egress point here, but we also have garbage over here. So there is a little segment of walk that does wrap to the corner of the building, but the loop itself, the way you're describing it, yeah, it runs across the front of B and then down and in front of the historic house and around.
Okay, so there's limited access to the resource area.
Correct.
Behind B now?
Right.
The only people that will have access behind B as our proposal is the fire. The trail will be just for fire access only. There'll be no amenity trail whatsoever back there. We've removed the trail that we had previously shown per this commission's comments.
Okay.
Yes.
And we're showing that currently
Ew.
as basically a structured lawn, so that it can be cleared in the winter. So it's more than grass, but there's actually like a green paver underneath it that you don't see, but it basically creates a walking surface that the fire.
The wellness, you're talking about the.
No, this is just the green path on the backside of B.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that, one of the things showed it as a fire, whatever, a fire strip or. okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're really trying to completely downplay that. We were worried that if it turned into a gravel, it would start to re-look like the stone dust path that we were trying to get rid of. So that's why we are doing this more of a green. It would be mowed, but it won't be it won't be perceived as a paved surface, if you will, one way or the other.
When you say mowed, that would be on a regular basis?
The part directly adjacent to the base of the building, yes, that's not in the,
Okay, but what I'm thinking about is what you put at the edge of that, so the guy with the lawnmower.
yeah, we can work through that with you guys, absolutely. But yeah, we need to be able to, we're trying to find a comfortable middle ground. And we know that we need to be able to get fire access with men with hoses back there. They can't be walking through really tall stuff.
Jim?
You said men with hoses walking back there, not the fire trucks?
The trucks will not go a full loop around the building, no.
Okay,
No.
where will they go? How far along? Is any of that like those pavers that the grass can grow up between?
So the fire trucks will go to,
Sorry.
right here.
Okay.
They can pull in right here, will be the end, and then they pull up over here.
Okay.
And then we are fully within, I think it's 250 and we're fully compliant, and the fire chief has looked at this, we've been working with them throughout the whole process. And then likewise behind
So
A,
the trucks only go as far as you showed on the two ends?
yeah, right here.
And then they can pull hoses or whatever
Yeah.
they need? Okay, all
Yeah.
right, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, Jim, sorry.
I
Yeah.
got it.
And then we're doing the same thing on A. So we get to right here as a turn, and then essentially they've got this full loop, but they can get right into here. And they can do that same, they're within that same distance, Jim, on those as well.
Is there some kind of gate at those ends?
It'll be curved, but it's stopped, and that's really the edge of the pavement as well.
And then we imagine, and we can have this discussion with the commission once we get a little further along about what signage or gated access or whatever the commission would like at these ends, just to make sure, I know Mr. Foley's not here tonight, but just to make sure that we're not having that creep issue into the resource areas, so people aren't coming in there using the area.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask another question? Do you all have electric car charging anywhere
Yes.
underground?
In accordance with the new energy code, 20% of our spaces, is that correct, 20? Are required to be EV spaces, EV ready. So we're going to have 20% of the spaces EV ready. We haven't set them yet. That will be on our final construction plan. But we imagine those will be throughout the site and also in some of the garage areas.
Okay, because those places cannot be moved once you put the thing, right?
Correct.
Correct.
The
Yes.
conduit and stuff.
Yes. Any other specific questions?
Yeah, it was very helpful seeing the red dash line.
Yes.
The one place that I had a question is, and I think it's at flags B129 and B130, where it's, looks to be 15 to 20 feet off the edge of the pavement, and you've actually got the limited disturbance right to the edge of the wetlands. And then,
Yeah, so that's the B flags are this wetland back
Okay.
here. And
Yeah.
we're talking about this corner.
We
yeah,
have that disturbance sheet showing that.
Yeah.
That would be the easiest one.
So actually, it was the previous one.
Okay.
So in here, we've we've shaded new disturbance in orange, and restored areas in green.
But when you say that, but disturbance, is that during construction disturbance or disturbed areas when construction is complete?
When construction is complete.
Oh, okay. So that red dashed line that's right at the edge of the wetlands says that during construction, you're actually going to be disturbing the ground right to the edge of the wetlands.
We would, and it's for grading associated with ADA accessibility.
For the wellness path?
Right.
Show the existing limit.
The existing limit on this plan is the thick blue line. The red dashed line is the limit of disturbance. So that's both the limit of grading and also the limit of demolition, to remove the pavement and restore the site. So it's basically the erosion control line.
I cannot remember the last time we've had an erosion control line right at the edge of the wetlands.
And this wetland, in some locations, you could see there's pavement right up until the edge.
Oh, yeah, there is that, but that's because of when it was built.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct. And I know that you sent a comment requesting the area of additional disturbance. So within the 30-foot limit of work, that's about 2,000 square feet. We're also restoring a little bit more than 2,000 square feet within that 30-foot. So it's about a wash. And I don't know if you have anything to add on that, but.
Yeah, no, on that, no, I don't,
Okay.
Katie.
Do you want to show the sheet in a specific area? Madam Chair, just to your point, I think that if you look at the couple of the last slides
The
that we
sections?
submitted, the cross sections, I think those would be helpful here because it shows some of the existing grading so you can appreciate a little bit more what the post-construction, post-development will look like. I can have just Sean talk through those quickly just so that we can see it. So this is the section behind Building A where the wellness path is going to stay.
Yeah, and we're really being driven by the finished floor of the building. It's probably more than you guys really care about, but that's being really driven by where we are with the effluent field on the front side of the building. So that gets us to the deck space that's going to be slightly cantilever, matching up the finished floor of the building. As Melissa mentioned, we do have a grade change within that vegetated slope that gets us down to the path that you're seeing there in the plan, the curvilinear form. And then as we met with you guys 2 weeks ago now, that's then we've introduced the really kind of identifying that 2-foot mow strip that's directly to the left of the path, and then transitioning that into a planted. And what we're looking to do, or we'd like to do, let me put it that way, is have a combination of the railing, if you will, the fence, and then likewise introduce some larger shrubs as well. So it could be a combination of a vegetated with shrubs, and then also with the fencing along that edge.
So the fencing
And
wouldn't
signage,
be,
excuse me, likewise.
so the fencing wouldn't be in the middle of the mowed strip?
Based on the comments, if you guys want that back, we can pull that
Well, no,
back.
I just,
We put it there because we felt we needed to have an edge, but we also wanted to be able to obviously clean around the post. So it's like, if we put it to the back, we're just gonna kind of go in the front, and then obviously the natural stuff can grow up to it. I don't know, we're overly strong one way or the other, so we can certainly slide that if it's really a strong feeling from this commission, not a problem at all.
okay, yeah.
Is that fence running around the whole thing?
No, it shows up in a later plan. We can kind of go through that. We started by identifying locations where we felt people would be gathering and congregating. So we have the seating area that is right here.
I think if you go back a couple slides.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Just tell me where to go.
That's okay.
One
It
more.
should be,
Yeah.
yeah, this is really hard to read.
If you could zoom in, I don't know if you can in PowerPoint.
No,
So let me start with the red dots. Oops, sorry, Matt.
no, I'm trying to zoom in.
So what we felt was it was really important to get signage and to be able to let people understand what wetlands are, because I'm sure a lot of people don't, the importance they play with habitat, and I'm sorry I'm preaching to the choir here, but groundwater, all of the really great things that they do. So we felt like there was an opportunity, and maybe there's more, but it's certainly kind of key moments where people are coming onto the wellness path. Maybe this one scooches up a little bit, but kind of those moments where people are kind of getting to it would be a great spot to have that level of interpretation with that. And then to your question regarding the fencing, those things, there we go. So we knew we had the dog park right here, and it felt like we could add that fencing to start the discussion right through here. And then likewise, it kind of transitions to more of the walkway. We felt like we could handle more of this in shrub masses and taller plants. And then likewise, we have a little bit more of a seating node here. This is what we're kind of calling our hammock grove. So there's really just 3 hammocks over there. People are going to be pretty passive, but kind of hanging out. We felt like we could do that red dash line you're seeing there likewise. So we started the conversation where we felt like people would be congregating or hanging out. Oh, and I should mention one more location is by the pickleball court. Sorry, there's one right there. The pickleball court itself will be fenced, fully enclosed, but we did show one more section right there. Once again, really looking at where people would be congregating as opposed to kind of walking by.
So I guess one thing that concerned me is on the first plan that we looked at, is this, this has a demarcation symbol that shows the edge of the current wooded area. That edge of wooded area is completely missing from the picture that we just looked at, and in fact, it's showing seed mix being spread right to the edge of the wetland through the entire area. And it just, so that's where I'm we talk about limited disturbance, but sorry, Matt, but the plan before this, it's basically showing that all of the natural vegetation will be cleared to the wetland edge in the entire area. You'll be planting grass. There are actually 2 trees that are shown being planted in the wetland, and that's not the kind of thing that we normally expect to see on plants.
Madam Chair, have been removed from the plants, the 2 trees. And to be honest, the dark tone you're seeing there at the moment was to cover scope from a pricing exercise. We wanted to make sure that we had anything that was disturbed or raw soil, if you will, would be seeded. So what we need to do as we continue to refine and finalize our drawings, is as Katie gets her grading done, we're going to stop right at those lines, so that'll all be pulled back. There's some final coordination as we wrap up our drawings.
Okay.
But from a pricing standpoint, we wanted to make sure we had stuff covered. So that's really what you're seeing there.
And and I will speak just for myself. When I look at a plan, I'm assuming that the plan I'm being given to review is something that's intended to be handed to a contractor to build. And that's where
I wish it was, but we're not there yet. But I wish it was. Yes.
But if I'm looking at stuff and saying, do I approve this, do I not? I have to think about it, that if I say, oh, okay, I'm okay with this.
Fully understand.
Yeah, so.
So comments duly noted and appreciated.
Okay.
Just so you know, we are continuing to just finalize those edges based on coordination with Katie and the civil team.
Okay. I've been doing a lot of talking. Do other people have comments or questions?
Do you want us to run through any of this stuff? Because you guys, over the course of the last month, I think have kind of had comments come in. And maybe we make sure we have those. I don't want to over...
We've had written comments emailed to us, which even as
recently
as today.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, the changes from the last meeting, like the path was one.
Yeah.
If there are any other changes, you could highlight them for us.
Yeah, if you, let's go to, can we go to one of the rendering plans, Matt? Sorry, it'll just be easier to see. Let's do the one right before that. Yeah, if we can start there. So, Noel, to your point, the path itself is gone behind B. The other thing that we talked about doing was we had 2 garages that were right here, that were right on the kind of the corner of that line that kind of cut through here. So that garage has now been moved to, I'm going to call it Plan North, right here. So this is now essentially paving that's on top of existing paving.
Well, yeah, and that lower corner is what we were describing as green banked as well. So that first bay of parking wouldn't actually be constructed further down.
So, but that's also where the fire truck's gonna back in, right?
But they don't need the parking spaces.
Right,
So
okay, but
The
if,
drive aisle.
so what would be the surface, what would be the ground surface that the fire truck would be able to back onto?
So it might help if we go to the next plan, actually. But what we've done is we've pulled almost all of the work out of the 30-foot limit of work. So that's the orange line on
Yep.
this plan. Those parking spaces that you see crossing the line, those are green banked parking spaces. We've taken that garage out of the 30-foot. So we're not doing any work beyond the existing limit of pavement, and we're actually pulling the pavement back in almost all locations. And then, like we said, around the back of the building, we took out the walkway. We enclosed those decks so that people can't physically leave
With
their
rails.
deck with rails. And so the work that's happening in the 30-foot is removing existing pavement and replacing it with landscaped areas. So we're really respecting the
Yeah.
30-foot limit of work now.
I guess, with my question about, for where there are parking spaces being banked, they're not built, what's the surface going to be in terms of thinking about what is the ground gonna look like that's something that can support the weight of a fire truck backing onto
Is
it?
it just gonna be paved and not lined?
So, kind of, if I.
Okay, so it'll be paved.
Just the drive aisle. Just the centerpiece. So essentially, if you were to take that curb line that's right here, you
Okay,
extend that down, that's the drive aisle that the fire truck will be able to kind of
So the-
pull down, back out, and then leave. This would be a planted condition that would be.
so the marked parking spaces will not be paved?
No,
Okay.
not at all. Yes.
They won't be constructed.
No,
Right,
Yeah, these
right,
show.
just the drive on.
just the drive, which will get
Okay.
the fire trucks down there, and also get our garbage trucks to be able to get down there. Yes.
Okay. yeah. Now we're talking.
Okay, no, this is good. I just want to make sure we're getting you guys up to speed, so it's
Why
a
you said
complicated
garbage
project.
trucks? Why do you need garbage trucks?
All of our garbage is basically inside the building. We have no outside dumpsters, no kind of enclosures. It's inside, so the trucks will actually pull up right into here, is my understanding, and then likewise here, and they actually roll out. The dumpsters, those are empty, and then they roll them back in, so none of that stuff is left outside, and it's all coordinated with your property manager, thank you.
But that's a spot where they'll be loading the garbage truck.
Yes, it comes out the end of the building, sorry, it's right there. That little indent right there.
But again, there's a curb on the end of that driveway, there's a stormwater management system. So all of that will be properly treated.
Lauren, how often will the garbage be picked up in that? And they'll be recycling?
There's a compactor as well.
Okay.
Say again? Yes, yes.
And there is recycling, sorry. just-
So like you said, the garbage would be compacted before it leaves the building?
Yes, there's a compactor inside.
It's kind of a random question. Is there a composting area? Like, is that like, which then,
Or in terms of,
like, where residents
household-
can put their compost and then the compost can be used in plantings?
or
Or that
just,
will also reduce any
Yeah.
garbage
Yeah.
that there
Oh, no, we
is?
certainly consider that. We haven't even considered composting, but we have plenty of areas out here that we can certainly use.
or
it,
just
so.
even, because I think you're talking household composting as opposed to landscaping composting.
Yeah, but like if you had if the apartment had a place that the household people
Yeah.
could bring their
Yeah.
household. I mean,
Well, there are also services which will pick up
Yeah.
yeah, and there are that too.
food scrap.
The great news for this, and we could include that, because we have centralized locations on each of the floors for pickup, so people can just take it to the end of the floor, they're going to put their trash and recycling, it is separate, and then the trash and recycling will go down into the basement through the chute, it gets compacted, and then management actually takes it outside compacted, so adding a service like that would be simple. Yes, and I think the residents would like it.
Yeah,
That would be very
it's gonna
proactive.
reduce your trash. And
Correct, yes, that's a great idea, we can add that.
But then I think she's talking about, then you take that and don't send it away.
Well, it'd be cool if the apartment could
On
also
site.
do it, but it
You
might.
cannot do it in the resource area, you gotta be careful.
But
And
also,
it's like, if people are gonna drop their chicken bones in there, that becomes a different type of.
Yeah,
composting.
true.
But we could work with a service. There's plenty of new services out there that work with household composting, so it's a great idea.
yeah, and by working with a contractor, you're not having to worry about your space outside for doing something.
Correct.
Winter like we've just had.
Great winter.
If we can switch to the snow storage, you know, is,
That's it.
yeah. Where the snow storage is within the buffer zones in the riverfront area that are our jurisdiction, my concern is that if you're plowing or scooping snow off the paved surface, you are actually bypassing the pollutant removal features of the stormwater management. And that's where I get concerned that, you know, if you're putting it on an upland location outside the buffer zone, that's outside our jurisdiction. If it's in our jurisdiction and snow is actually being diverted from melting and going through the stormwater treatment, that's kind of bypassing something that was built for an intended purpose.
Right. Yeah, thank you for that comment. All of these areas are graded so that they pitch towards the pavement, so the melt would drain towards the pavement in the stormwater management system. Anything that wasn't runoff, anything that was infiltrated.
Well, and that's where I'm concerned about when it's a naturalized surface, like in the traffic island or outside of those banked spaces. If it's on the soil, if you have a gradual melt, it's going to infiltrate in as opposed to running onto the pavement.
Right, and those surfaces, planted surfaces, they function a lot like a rain garden, a lot like the bottom of a typical detention basin that you see. So the plant material treats the runoff as well as the soil below it. It's a natural filter system.
Well, I guess my concern is because you've got a parking area, you have the opportunity for petroleum and pollutants off the vehicles. If there's been sanding or whatever to deal with slippery surfaces, all of that product is potentially getting put onto naturalized surfaces where it's going to degrade your landscaping, but also in the case of petroleum products, it can potentially infiltrate through the soil into the groundwater.
Yeah, and it's not unlike a rain garden, how that functions.
But
and how the plant material is used to absorb some of that, and how the soil itself does work as a filter. You know, that's the BMP that works really well, actually.
For uptaking petroleum products?
Yep, and it's in the stormwater handbook.
No, with rain gardens, the water that's coming to the rain gardens, has that first been through like the types of sumps or stormwater catch basins and stuff that you would normally find in a parking area?
Not always.
Okay.
A lot of times there's sheet flow directly to rain gardens. And rain gardens are one of the better BMPs, and it's the kind of thing that would be monitored on this site. It's in our operation and maintenance plan to monitor vegetated areas, so if plants are failing, they would be replaced.
Yeah, and I guess, you know, failing plants is one thing. My concern is that cumulative over time, if there are petroleum products that are making it onto a naturalized surface, that over time there's a certain amount of infiltration into the groundwater, long-term, the cumulative impacts of that would be the concern. You know, because this is something that once it's built, it's potentially here in perpetuity, so everything, you know, even slight impacts become cumulative over time.
Right, and Melissa just mentioned, we'll discuss it with
Okay.
Thailand, they did a thorough.
Yeah, and some of this, you know, I mean, I'm interested in seeing the stormwater management report because there's a lot of, you know, that's their wheelhouse.
Right, and I will mention on the right side of the plan, the snow storage area in the back, that's actually down gradient of the wetland on the eastern side of the property.
Mhm.
There's a high point in between, so that naturally would not flow in that direction.
No, but it just, when stuff gets in the groundwater and there are wetlands nearby, you know, there's overland flow and then there's also what happens subsurface.
I do have a question. If it was a winter like this snow storage area on these narrow parts, would those parking spaces still be parkable? How do you get, it seems narrow.
Or if this was built before this winter, what would have been done with all this, you know, the snow that's way too much for these snow storage areas?
Right, we acknowledge that, and the owner would work with a snow removal contractor to remove the excess from the site.
And that would be covered in the O&M plan?
Yes.
Okay.
So it really shouldn't be showing snow storage on the banked parking places, right? Because if those are supposed to be able to be used for parking.
Well, no, it's designed, so they're designed, they won't be
Right,
constructed.
They're not going to be constructed. They could be used for snow, true, but they should be.
They would be bare ground at that
They should be
point.
designed for parking.
No, my understanding from what
So you
they've
should-
said is that if the spaces needed to be built in the future, they would be paved, but while they're considered banked, they would actually be naturalized grass. Not, so where you see those hatching,
Yeah.
it would not be paved, it would be a natural surface.
But if you were to build those as parking places in the future, then your whole snow storage is essentially.
Well, you're starting, yeah, you
about
lose
over
those.
half of it's gone.
You just get rid of, I mean, that's what parking places do now, you lose some of your parking during winter time.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to your point, just to Mr. Gazzo's point, if we did have to build those spaces in the future, that's something we would have to work through with the planning board and this commission to find out where our alternate snow storages, do a modification of the plan, and ensure that there is adequate snow storage elsewhere.
Okay.
And just to your point about snow removal, it would have to be in the operation and maintenance plan. We would stack the snow in particular areas. We would have equipment on site as necessary that would move it into the specific areas, and then they have to be trucked off-site, ultimately, if we had a winter like we had this winter.
Or when we have.
When we have another winter, 3 or 4 years from now, hopefully. But yes, that's exactly how it would be. The good news is, again, we have one single user out here, one management company that's going to be in charge of all of this. So it's not as if we have multiple homeowners or multiple people shoveling or scooping snow. This is going to be one company.
And, well, actually, that brings up an interesting point, because they're two separate buildings. Could at some point, those buildings be put under separate ownership?
No,
Okay, so it
we're
will.
not condominiumizing this.
No, I mean the two different,
No.
it could okay, so the property could never be subdivided to have different halves of it owned by different entities?
If we had to subdivide this property, we would have to come back to the planning board for new approvals.
Okay.
Yes.
Noel?
So back to Margaret's question about stormwater. So there are a bunch of trees in the property, right? So there might be some product you use for fertilizer or other things like that?
Yes, we have no fertilizer. Actually, we're in the process of writing the specifications for our design development set as we speak.
Okay.
In the planting as well as through the lawn applications, there is no fertilizer and pesticide, any of those treatments that are a part of that. And we've got those in the specs, and our specs certainly cover the first year. And then likewise, obviously, we will have these same conversations that will be folded in, or they probably already are, into the O&M manual as well. So yeah, absolutely none of that. Our approach is going to be much like they do for the Greenway downtown. It's really more of an organic, and whether it's soaps or pests or people are staying on this to know as these things are being, I guess, determined, if you will, or they find them before they turn into bigger issues. But no, we are definitely, sorry, Lauren.
Yeah, well, with that was, with the no fertilizers and pesticides, that includes no rodenticides.
Right, yes.
Rodenticides.
Yep. Yeah, and we're doing actually the same issues downtown. I mean, unfortunately, we're learning from the evils of, but, as we start to get into the hawks and the other raptors that we have downtown are eating those things, and then it gets into, I mean, it's a domino effect. So I think we're all getting smarter, but yeah, absolutely.
No?
Yeah, how about treatments like sand or salt for winter?
You mean on paved surfaces?
On paved, yeah, like around the buildings and all. So
You mean like walkways?
walkways, yes. So
Or-
water will sweep them in, right, or when there's melting snow. They'll get swept into the drains, right? So I don't know what the standards are for, like, making sure they don't get into the
So you're talking,
resource area.
is the stormwater system designed to handle
Right, so,
that stuff that's put on the sidewalks or whatever to deal with snow and ice and then gets, rainwater takes it into the stormwater management system?
Yeah, so the paved walkways are pitched towards the stormwater management system, which is designed to meet the Massachusetts stormwater standards and Westford standards. That includes chemicals, icing. Sand is, sand kind of needs to be removed manually after it's used. But, yeah, all of the stormwater from the paved surfaces will be treated.
Okay. in accordance with the regular standards.
Correct.
Okay, so at some point, Ty and Bond's comments with your responses will be coming back to us as you as you hear our questions and you kind of incorporate your responses into your plans. We'll be getting updated information.
Yes, we recently got their letter, and we want to discuss some of their comments just to make sure that we fully understand what they're saying, and then we will provide a written response that'll be shared with you.
Okay. Matt, do you have anything?
No, not specifically. Everything's been covered.
Okay. In terms of the next meeting that we continue to, our next meeting is March 25th. Is that sufficient time for what your review and response to the Ty and Bond?
Yes.
Okay.
And Madam Chair, we will have written responses, and then we can definitely present to this commission the questions that you've specifically asked that might be a little bit outside of the scope. We can make sure to tie those in with Ty and Bond. And as I stated, we also want to bring our architect in just to go into this building design a little bit more, just so the commission can know about these great buildings and their energy code compliance. The only thing, Madam Chair, I'd like to make sure is that we've spoken a lot over the last 2 or 3 meetings about the areas behind building B and building A. I said that backwards, I'm sorry, building A and building B. So I just want to make sure that we're leaving here tonight. Is there more that you need us to do? If we can start per building. So building B, I mean, I think we've taken everything out.
Actually, Matt, can
Yeah.
you put up
Yeah.
back the picture that has the
Yes.
30-foot, the 55-foot? Because I
Yes.
think that makes it a lot easier to have.
So, yeah, just to Mr. Almeida's point, everything there in the stripes, that is kind of hard to see with the orange line that's now green, that is actually going to be green bank parking. So those parking spaces actually aren't going to exist. The gray area is where the fire trucks will go down, and then it will end. Everything else has been removed from there. So all the passive trails, the little benches, or park for lack of a better term, has been removed from the plan set completely. There was also a garage structure that was located there that's been bumped out.
Be careful.
Yeah.
We have one little piece.
One little piece,
We
yeah.
have an egress stair that comes
Yes.
out of the back of the building. That's the only piece of
Yes.
this. I don't want to say that there's
yeah.
nothing back there. There's
So-
one tiny little segment, but it's there.
Yeah,
It's right here. I just want to be really clear. There's an emergency door that we need for egress that wraps, right, comes out right here, and we're trying to get that around as close as we can. Can we pull this a little closer to the building? I'm sure we can play around with that a little bit, but there is a little piece
So
between
that's what that hatched walkway is for?
just that one piece right there.
Okay, so that's your
Madam Chair,
emergency exit.
And this is not a pedestrian trail of any type. That's why I'm saying we can talk to the fire department and work with the commission about what the signage is there, how we make sure that there's an end so that people aren't coming into that area for passive recreation.
And I would say too, Melissa, that's an egress stair only.
Yes.
You're not going out that way to get to a door.
Right.
You can use the door that we were just talking
You
about.
hopefully
Hopefully
nobody's
never.
ever coming out that
Yeah,
door.
I mean, you can use the other door to get out that we were just
Yeah.
talking about for the trash, to get to the parking, the move-ins. I think that's gonna be the door, but that one is for egress only, but it's there, but I don't see it being used hardly at all.
Right. And just so the commission's aware, I don't know if you care, but there's no grills back there. There's no grills allowed on the deck, so you're not even going to have trash or debris or any smoke or any refuse going into the wetlands from something like that. And it also makes the fire department happy that we're not going to have
So
grills back
did
there.
you say no grills are gonna be allowed?
No grills.
There will,
On the deck. On the deck, yeah.
In the courtyard there are.
Yes, in the public areas, we have grills that people can use.
Sure, yeah.
But no, not on the decks.
Okay. And you talked about fencing these out, like
Yeah,
the
you showed
decks?
the cross sheet, Matt, I'm sorry to make you
You
argue.
did really good, right there.
You are really good, but you can see, yeah, so now we've enclosed these. I think there were a lot of concerns keeping these at a flat level and making sure that people just can't walk out.
Okay.
Because then we're creeping slowly into that wetland area. I've seen it happen myself, so this will stop, have a real hard edge so people can't go out.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know Eric Foley had been very concerned about how much of Building B was close to the wetland.
Right.
And, looking at, I don't know if you've actually physically moved it or this plan just shows it, but there are quite a few portions where the edge of Building B is outside the 55-foot.
Right, and anything that's shown in green here is actually areas of buffer zone restoration.
Okay.
So everything there in green behind B is restored from its current status.
And when you say restoration, in this particular place where you have the fire access path,
Yeah.
the rest will be once a year mow or no mow? Or is it likely to be landscaped
Obviously, we will.
with shrubs and?
We would love to work with you guys on it. Our goal was, we started with the
Okay.
idea of once a year, maybe twice. We've worked with other conservation commissions, obviously, it's with working with you guys, but what we want to be able to do is to at least manage the invasives. If we do a no-mow ever, we're gonna have opportunities for bittersweet and some of those other really super aggressives to get in there. But if we can take that down once or twice a year, the goal is not to get in there and mow it, maintain it, and have it super low, but it's really about managing those invasives, to be honest.
Okay, and it just, my question was more, did you have something in mind, or were you just basically showing us the starting point of the conversation?
So we currently have in a New England seed mix that's
Yep.
basically, and I think if we haven't already, we can make sure we share that mix with you guys. I think it's on the planting plans, but yeah, it's a diverse mix. And as I said, if it's not there, we'll get it to you guys so you can take a look at that.
Okay, yeah, because looking at this one, I was seeing it look like there are a bunch of trees in that green area. So I guess some of it is also getting an understanding of what's going to be more of a herbaceous layer versus a shrub and tree layer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so those trees, though, they should be reflective of what's on the planting plan that are all outside the wetland. Those could certainly be within the orange zone, but they're outside the wetland. And it's really, once again, that tree line is a good survey edge, but what we really want to do is to be able to take that quantity of trees, we own those, and then to be able to be strategic about where we locate those in the fields, because we know there's not a constant hardwood edge. There's going to be voids and openings and whatnot. So what we want to do is we have, I'm going to say there's 15 trees back there in that back of Building B. What we want to do is grab those trees, be strategic. So that exact circle is probably not exactly where that's going to be, but we won't go into the wetland for sure. We've heard that loud and clear, but we want to be strategic about defining supplementing and enhancing, if you will, that edge.
Okay, so those circles are representational.
Exactly, yes.
And Madam Chair, if there's
Okay.
something that you dislike
Right.
openly as a commission and you say, Counselor, I'm never ever going to allow that tree, tell us right now. I mean, we will.
Right.
Non-natives.
Exactly, we can
Yeah.
make sure that this is still in a design area that we can work with the commission to be flexible back here.
It's really in trying to, obviously work with the amazing component we have back there. And if there's some opportunities for native trees, to your point, and just kind of enhancing some of those views and filling in a few spots, or maybe we're getting a few of those, it would be nice to get some of those native tree species reintroduced into those areas.
No.
Do we talk now about signage and stakes or later?
Do later.
Yeah, let's get the edges a little bit more nailed
Right.
down.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anybody else have questions about behind building B?
No, I think it's pretty much cut off now to general access,
So it'll be
right?
the same kind of decks facing the wetland on building B, on both of them, right? Without a stairwell, that
The
introduces
building
the
A
peak.
decks have stairwells, I think that they.
No, you can't get off of
You
them.
can go
They're
into
not
you can go into the building, but you
There you
can't go
go.
out onto into the wetland, right?
correct.
Okay.
They're all slightly
Both-
elevated.
Both buildings, the backs of them are like that.
Yeah, in most cases, well, that grade varies, obviously, as we're trying to keep this, trying to get out there, but we don't want to get into guardrails if we can avoid that. So we're trying to keep those heights, they're mostly around 2 feet
So-
elevated.
Okay.
That deck
And
shows on,
there's a railing of some sort. This one doesn't show a railing.
We don't have railings there. We weren't starting there. Our grade difference between the deck surface and the grade set edge, if you will, is below 30 inches. So we're trying not to if we don't have to. That would be ideal. But we heard it loud and clear behind Building B, that was a big concern
okay.
for Creek, but we didn't hear that from you guys at the last meeting, so we didn't show those here.
Okay. So there'd be a shallow railing because you don't want somebody stepping off of it. But then the vegetation beyond it would not be maintained lawn.
Correct. Wrapping around those decks is not lawn. It's planted shrubs and ground cover mixes. And there'll be probably some ornamental grasses in there.
You looking at a question?
Just saying, they can get out onto I guess they could walk from their deck out to the wellness path, right?
They could, they would honestly kind of have to jump off their deck to step down. It won't be flush.
So will the deck have some type of, will there be something up along the sides of the deck so that, for example, somebody can't fall off of it?
There's no fence or railing.
We don't have a rail at the moment, and that's
Okay.
basically, from a code standpoint, with our relationship of the grade on the ground, if you will, and that deck height, we're below the threshold where we do not have, by code, we do not have to have a railing from a code fall height design criteria.
Do you know roughly how tall that is? You said 30 inches.
Yeah, you have to be 30 inches or be less than 30 inches. If you have 30 inches or greater of a fall, then you gotta have a guardrail.
So 29 and a half inches, no railing either.
Correct, yes, code-wise, you do not require. So what we'll have around there will be some taller shrubs, so it's not like you would have, an edge of a deck here, and then it would drop down to something really low. There'll be taller stuff wrapping around that, but it'll be a planted edge as opposed to a guardrail as currently designed.
And that's kind of intended to discourage people from
Correct.
going off their deck.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah, and
What discourages them from
Just the plantings themselves, as
Oh.
they're difficult. to-
going bushes?
Yeah, yeah.
well, and actually, I guess, and you being the landscape architect, it would be bushes that wouldn't over time grow so that they're now 10
Correct,
above the height of the deck.
correct, yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess, some of this is also, we've heard, the new information, we've heard your answers to our questions. I think some of this also is, we kind of need to let it percolate.
Okay.
so are there any other changes or new things since the last meeting?
If you go back to I think this drawing, so we have put in the mix of the split rail fence, so that's the area that he talked about at the beginning.
Dash red.
Right, so we didn't have any split rail
Right.
fence before, so all of that has been added to the plan, as well as some initial learning signage, for lack of a
Big
better
red dots.
term.
Yep.
Just showing where we would put some informational signage. So that's really what has
In the
changed.
garages.
Yeah, and then we've moved the garages, and then also the last sheet that, I'm sorry, Matt, shows, we've added the cut sheet just so you could see the landscaping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, those sections were new. I don't think
Right.
you guys ever had a chance to see those.
I think before didn't really show you, Mr. Almeida, like what the grading was back there. So it looked as though you could walk right out the back door and be right in the resource area and put your Christmas tree or start mowing the lawn back there. So I think it was important to show that we have a deck with a grading difference, with a barrier, then these areas that people would naturally go into, that's what we've tried to put the split rail fence. And the commission can tell us whether they think that that's enough or not enough, but then we also want to then put the signage on as well, which would be a mix of these learning signs or educational signs, and then also your typical Westford commission signs that say do not enter,
Yeah,
resource
We've
area.
definitely done that in
Yes.
Andover. I mean, what we were thinking about with the red dots, we felt those could be really great educational ones that are
Right.
probably bigger than what is normally done. But then
Right.
there's the, to your point, the do not enter, or, you know,
Resource area.
resource
Do
area,
not
thank you,
disturb.
exactly.
Yes.
So those
Yeah.
could certainly, I would say, I'm guessing are more frequent, but you could have these more that are talking about, here's the animals that use this, here's how the water gets recharged. I think here's the plant material, and how, I mean, these are great resources, and how can we help people get a better understanding of what they are?
Right.
Yeah, because
That would be
the
attractive.
plans look very two-dimensional, so you're thinking, oh, somebody's gonna grab their lawn chair and just
Yeah.
go
Exactly.
and set it out and go
Right.
sunbathing or whatever.
Right.
Sit down and read a book.
Right.
I think
Yeah,
that would be
okay.
attractive.
The only cutting is gonna,
Yes,
the only cutting is managed by the management company, right?
that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the residents can't do any cutting or landscaping whatsoever out here. So we'll have one operation and maintenance plan.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And I think that, given the complexity on this plan, when we get to that point, it may also be helpful, I don't know if you do it with color or some kind of a texture thing, but to show where where is maintained lawn versus naturalized areas. You know, 'cause just that visual representation so we can differentiate.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And we've been digesting, we're working through all of that. I mean, we're trying to be, once again, a really good balance with you guys. We're also trying to be thinking about our residents. And the reason we've kind of talked about that, to be honest, that mowed lawn edge is, we want to be careful. We know there'll be people out there with dogs, and we're trying to be careful with ticks and just giving a bit of a distance from the edge of that pathway to, obviously, everything else that's native and it's great, but we just, and I think we have found a little balance here that we don't see people over there, we don't see dogs over there, but at the same time, we don't need them kind of
Yeah,
racing through there. So-
the fence keeps the dog from running into the tall
And likewise,
grass.
those taller shrubs, we feel like will be a really good kind of barrier.
What fence is gonna hold the dogs back?
It is, well,
Basically, it's a guardrail, it's a railing,
or just,
a split rail, thank you.
yes, so
Oh, the one in the
Yeah, so
mow-
between-
the mow strip?
It's,
between the most strip, well, yeah, either in the most, just something to keep the dogs from going down into the vegetated slope.
yeah, because it's not a chain link, it's
Right.
not a picket,
Right.
it's more of an edge definition.
And this is not an off-leash area.
Right,
This
exactly.
is gonna be a maintained, managed area, so this isn't dogs running around off-leash in your backyard. You're going to have your dogs on a leash. There's
Our
gonna be a
really-
management
Our
company.
only off-lease is in the dog
The
park.
dog
Have a dog park,
Oh,
what,
Correct.
yeah.
Totally
I was thinking
fenced.
the way the decks are without a railing or anything, boom, dog's gonna jump down onto that sloped area. and
Yeah,
It's gonna
have a
become
field day.
It's gonna become a dumping ground.
Well, but yes, it just, but it's management company's headache.
That's correct. That's the good news about having a management company and neighbors very close to you, is that generally with homeowners associations or rental associations like that, your neighbor is usually your best policeman, because if you break the rules, they usually are calling the management company pretty quickly on site to tell them that you are doing so. So if you have a very large dog that's jumping into the very nice shrubbery, I'm pretty sure that would be responded to pretty quickly.
So, can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to March 25th?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item.
Good from building B, you gotta go over here. Right?
Okay,
So in January, that's 10 below zero. You gotta walk a half mile to get your dog to take a crap and then walk a half mile back. It's not good for anything, at temperature.
So, the next agenda item at 7:30 is the Freedom Park Review the Monuments and Memorials Committee Abbott Millworks application. I don't know if people have had the opportunity to review what was submitted in the electronic, in the meeting packet.
Again, this was originally came to us from the chair of the Monuments and Memorials Committee. Again, there's the proposed memorial wanted to be located in Forge Village. They, as kind of trying to help identify potential locations, did look at the strip of Freedom Park that fronts Pleasant Street between 1 Pond Street and 10 Pleasant Street. Kind of wanted to get the commission's thoughts
Go
whether.
back to the map, please.
Yep.
Point out the entrance, is that on the left?
So the parking lot is down here
Yeah.
on Pond Street between 5 and 9,
Yeah.
but they're proposing
I've never
it.
seen that.
Yeah, and I can pull up Google Maps, that may actually be
Is
the.
it
It's all
vegetated
tree.
or, okay,
It's completely naturalized.
okay.
It's the same condition it was when the town bought the parcel about 35 years ago, except the trees are bigger.
That's interesting.
So do trees need to come down?
What were you talking about?
The spot to put the,
I'm
Well-
pulling up kind of the location.
225?
Yeah, the location on Pond Street. And this is from, all right, let me go. This is one from September 2025, and you can actually see one of our survey markers. So that's the near side corner, the corner with 1 Pond Street. 10 Pond Street is the White House in the kind of back. So going back to kind of 2018, which, may be kind of the most.
that's an entrance to the park?
It's part of the park's property.
Okay.
But it's very steep going down to the park. It's wooded. I think there's like a 20-foot change in grade from the level of the park to the street level here. That's how steep the grade is going down through the woods. But Matt, in terms of, so this is, on conservation properties, we have the granite memorial benches. In Freedom Park, there was also a memorial placed about 2 years ago for Francis Sullivan, who had actually, his family lived on this property, and he helped to draft the GI Bill after World War II. But now, and actually, the memorial was originally proposed for the triangle of land where Patton Road ends at Pleasant Street.
Yeah, I can quickly go over just for, which is, I think, under the
As you come
character.
off Waterbrook, right?
No.
As you come off Brook, what's that?
Right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a good view. Yeah, so it's this little triangle here.
Yeah.
So Patton Road to your right, Pleasant Street continues to the northwest.
So that's one of the other locations that's under consideration.
Well, the other one's closer
Is
to
that
the-
one managed by the highway department or public works?
I think Select Board maybe, I'm not 100%.
It's in the right of way.
Because the area that they're looking at on our Pond Street parcel, that's gonna be a pain to maintain. Is it?
Right.
Well, and
Up by 225, that portion of it.
well,
High
you're
slope-
talking about,
High slope, well, heavily overgrown right now.
well, and some of the question also is, if the monument is there and it's got to be mowed around, is it accessed from the street or there's a question of, is the maintenance activity, which side does it approach from? But also, in terms of thinking back to what we've been through with the memorial benches where we've had trees fall on them and break them, we've had people vandalize them.
This is a tough
And
area,
this, and so, that's one of the downsides we've discovered with having memorials is we're responsible in perpetuity for all costs associated, whether it's maintenance, whether it's repair.
yeah. Not on Patton Road and Pleasant Street, that intersection.
No, but on our property.
I
Well,
prefer
no,
that
but,
one.
but some of it is it's not just, it's the town becomes responsible for all of, the donor donates the item, and then all expenses thereafter
Yeah.
fall on the town.
I mean, have they looked into putting it on the Abbott Millworks property?
I think there were initial discussions, but I don't think they came to fruition.
I mean, this is close to it, but it's also super random.
Again, when it came to the monuments, my understanding is as it came to the Monuments and Memorials Committee, that's a first step to provide a recommendation to the select board, in terms of, we recommend, we don't recommend, kind of.
I like the Patton Pleasant Street
Well,
triangle.
But again, the committee themselves were looking at other potential locations. Again, whether or not, high level,
And-
is the commission amenable to this? Questions I had were, if the commission was amenable, I would want to see and still have kind of a full, final review and approval of what the actual site design was. Because to Jim's point, we're clearing, we're grading, we're how is that actually going to, A, occur initially? B, how is it going to be maintained
Forever.
going forward? And again, and these are the questions that, if there are questions, if the commission has questions, I'm more than happy to take them down and provide them as feedback. If the commission is amenable but needs more clarification, generally where, the commission is supportive of this, but we have questions about, here's our list, we'd like further information about that. Again, we have,
So we can, if commissioners want more information, we have the opportunity to get that before making any kind of supportive or unsupportive.
Exactly, yeah, we can, get the details, again,
You could
in the.
ask them who are they going to be assigning to manage the long-term maintenance of this property around the monument?
Well, and.
Who's going to do the initial clearing and installation?
And actually, so the Monument and Memorials Committee met last Tuesday to basically review this, and Terry had reached out and I participated via Zoom. They actually do have a couple of other sites that they're looking at in the vicinity of the center part of Forge Village. Some are potentially more suitable than others, but I think what's being asked of us is, would the commission support installing a monument on on one of our open space parcels? Is this the type of activity that the commission would support? Well, I guess it's,
They want to put a bench in one of the East Boston camp trails, that's fine with me. We've had benches there for years. Those work out well. This doesn't work out well.
So,
you have a question, Noel?
so is I'm gonna ask, can we get a list of other places they've looked at?
So from conversations I've had with members of the Monuments and Memorials Committee, one was Abbott Mill. It didn't lead to, obviously, it's not being proposed there because they're going through this process. The other was that Pleasant Street parcel, the Pleasant Street
Yep.
Patton Road triangle. This was one that committee members identified as a potential option if the Pleasant Street Patton Road triangle was deemed unfavorable by the highway director, public safety, and public safety inputs.
It's nothing big, it's a small monument on the ground.
Oh, no.
No, this,
Look, if you look,
What is, yeah.
yeah,
It's what?
They're not gonna want anything that's blocking traffic.
no,
Or
is,
sight lines or anything.
what, and that's one of the things that they're doing is that one of the things that the designer is
There it
doing
is, yeah.
is,
What's the height
It's
on
8
it?
feet tall.
is,
It'll
is,
block traffic
it's, the
size.
first thing that they're doing is because this is a clay workup of the monument, is he's taking this and he's going to, as a first pass, basically Photoshop it onto Google Earth images of the triangle to kind of give people a perspective of what this monument life size will look like on the property. And one of the other things that they had discussed is also, I think, working up a rough mock-up with something like cardboard or whatever, so you really have a chance to see the physical size of it, so that the police chief, the fire chief could actually physically see the site with something this size in place to get a sense of how it really will look in real life. Noel?
Does the commission own the Forge Pond, the beach? That
That's-
parking lot and all of that?
that's under the care and custody of the select board.
Because that would be a great place, because that triangle, the Patton Road thing, no one can stop there.
Again, and so, looking at the commission, what's asked of the commission,
Right.
with what are, if the commission is amenable or is not favorable, what questions
I'd be
does the
for
commission
it,
have to,
just not that location.
at
No, but we're being asked
here?
at where
Location, yeah.
this parcel connects to or fronts on Pleasant Street.
Mhm.
Installation of the monument in that location. That's the question. Would the commission, does the commission need more information before making a decision? Does the commission,
Would we support the
would we support this?
So all the questions you asked, who would clear it out and who would maintain it? I think those are valid questions.
Okay,
So we would want, a site plan,
O&M
an actual engineered site plan.
Yeah.
An O&M, ongoing, O&M, how's
Clean
that?
up maintenance, yeah.
We're not asking for an O&M plan, we're asking who's gonna do it.
Right. I mean, A, what is the O&M, and B, who's doing it?
Okay,
Yeah.
who's gonna do it is the important part.
But also-
It's easy to write a plan.
but there's two pieces of the maintenance. There's the mowing around it, but then if you also read through the application in detail, there's also annual or semi-annual maintenance to the monument that's required.
to keep it?
I think after a couple of years, right?
Same question, who?
Yes, but who is responsible for making sure that the inspection and the maintenance happens, and who's going to pay for it?
Yeah, you're right, yep.
And where's that gonna be documented so it doesn't fall on us?
And how are they gonna get access from the park up to that area?
But does it have to be from the park? Could it be from the street?
Yeah, that one would be from the street.
Where are they gonna
Seems
park
like
at the
it, but
park and
then
then
it
walk down Pond Street to get?
So they could,
I mean, there is a sidewalk.
yeah, they could.
There's a sidewalk on Pleasant Street, which, again, my original recollection was, I wasn't familiar, I didn't think there was a sidewalk on that side. I was familiar with the
Where are people
one.
gonna go then to see this monument?
Right.
They're not gonna park right there.
It's gonna be like the Westford
People
night,
walking
you're gonna
down.
drive by it and be like, oh, I should stop and see that, and then not stop and see it.
Once every few years, you see one family walking down. Walking from
That
every
road has a
school.
fair amount of walkers.
Yeah, I don't like this site.
Is that an electrical?
That's a telephone pole.
Is it gonna be
Yeah,
Yes.
to be replaced and-
Or, yeah, it's some type of a utility pole. Whether it's actually got,
Creepers hanging
what
up
it's
there,
got
yeah.
on. But yeah,
So what's your question for us here now?
so the first question is, do members of the commission need more information before they feel they can make a decision? Would we want this on
I don't need any more information.
okay. Do other people want more information before saying they would support the monument being installed in this location?
Seems like we should do a site.
I think you should ask those questions anyway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
Because irrespective of where they put it, it's gonna matter.
What did you say?
It doesn't matter where they put it, that's gonna matter, whether it's select board property or our property. Who's gonna maintain it?
Yeah. But if, well,
yeah.
And my last, additional information was, what's the insurance cost to the town?
Insurance?
Yeah. Again, we're familiar with, granite benches, they break, okay, it's $2,000, $3,000 to replace them or whatever, That's the other, again, so if the commission could get to a yes, but need more information, I have, my list of things, further information. If the commission is not amenable to this being on a property under its care and custody, because again, it's supposed to be for, Margaret and I did look up the deed, it was for the natural protection of.
open space?
Yeah, open space, and which, again, it's a unique property in being under the commission's care and custody, and so much as it is kind of a, natural neighborhood park, as opposed to the Timberlake conservation property that's, there's a trail and it's 30 acres. Things get managed differently. So if the commission could get to a yes, or would like more information in, determining, but they're generally feeling amenable to it, I can get that. If, to kind of Jim's point, if somebody wants to make a motion to not, to say that, yeah, we don't want this on this property at this time, we can,
Or we need to know who's gonna pay if there's.
Well, but,
or something.
well, not,
So, yeah, you have a
but
list of-
Marilyn, if people think they might support it on the property, then yes, we would need that information.
Okay, we
If,
don't need-
as Jim has very much articulated, no, he doesn't feel this is an appropriate monument
I have to go see the site.
on an open space park. Well, no, Jim, I shouldn't put words in your mouth.
I don't think this is a good property for it due to the high level of maintenance and lack of access from the park.
Is that being mowed?
again, this is from 2018, so don't,
Oh,
I don't know. I'll keep an eye on it, I'll see what's going on, but,
it's just like the neighbor's house is
yeah,
very
but
high.
they have a
There's a
fence.
fence.
Yeah, there's a fence, I don't,
Yeah, but it's,
yeah,
that's high.
I'll take a
That's-
look. I'll take a look.
Okay.
So, more information, or would the commission like to, or commissioner like to make a motion?
I'll move that we tell them that we're not interested in hosting that monument on this property.
Is there a second? Okay, so are you thinking about seconding it, or are you just
No,
struggling?
I mean, currently I
think-
would.
I mean, seconding just gets you to a vote.
I know, that's true. But more information, I don't know if it would change my mind.
Right,
Right.
I feel the same way.
I'm leaning towards a no, that we don't want
Yeah.
this on.
I could
don't want this
give you a
property.
guess who's gonna have, be told that they'll maintain it.
Us.
You got it. Ding, 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 you win. I mean, look how much trouble we had with the rest of the park,
Yeah.
Yeah,
with the benches. How long did it
that
take?
was just the benches.
Right, how long did it take with the walkway to the water?
That is going to get resolved.
Going to, how
With our-
long has it taken so far?
You mean, how long has it lasted?
No, how long has it taken so far to get to where we're at now?
What was the problem?
I mean, and so I don't want to distract from, is that a larger question about should this property be under the commission's care and custody? Which is a discussion I can put a pin in, we can have this discussion at a later meeting.
It already is, but
I think it'll help just answer those questions from my point of view. I'm still leaning towards a no, but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Okay, so
So
if we get the information
You just
and
tell
then
us.
people decide against it, they're better able to articulate why they're not in favor.
yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
It's like $10,000 a year to maintain it, just throwing it out there, and
It's 1,500.
a year to maintain it.
Well, that's
In-
just the monument
Oh,
itself.
That's the monument that's
itself,
maintain-
polishing or cleaning?
That's cleaning, inspecting, and refinishing the monument, but that's also 1,500 in today's dollars.
Right.
Right.
And then there's mowing or whatever you have to do, clean around it, and, and then insurance if something breaks.
Repair it.
Well, yeah, but that's a good question about the insurance.
Where
Yeah.
would they put it if they didn't put it there?
Well, they're also looking at the area where Patton Road and Pleasant. Some of the other places they've looked at, I think, are more along North Main Street and East Prescott.
I know Abbott Mill. That's really the only
Okay.
one. I can't say for,
Terry had talked about, and
we can get that information.
yeah,
We can
is
get
what
that
other
from them
places
where
have
they
been
look at it.
considered, but
Just-
I think up maybe more towards the, commissioners to review,
So the invitation for bids for the management services at the Stony Brook Conservation Area in EBC is released. It is active. Questions are due back March 19th, I think, next Thursday. With that, final bid submissions are due March 29th, I think. If commissioners want to volunteer, review both the bid submissions, and if we have to either interview or check references, that would be something to be a part of this. Are there commissioners?
If it wasn't during the daytime.
We can certainly try to arrange, if that's kind of the limiting factor and you want to, we can certainly work with trying
And
to.
at least review things. I don't
Right,
know, like-
that's perfectly, and then at least it's not, well, Matt made this decision and it's a commission member having, representing the community.
So, are any other commissioners interested in reviewing the invitation to bid submissions for the facilities management position?
I'll look at them.
Okay. So,
Jim, are you interested?
No.
No, okay. You can add my name to the list.
Have you got any responses yet?
I know the bid's been pulled. There have not been any questions submitted. That's also, we're still 8 days away. That's not, okay, so, yeah, I'm optimistic. The next item, again, as kind of previously communicated with the commission, the select board would like to have a joint meeting with the commission just to kind of see where things are at, what the commission's goals, any updates, how they tie into both the select board's kind of annual goals and or the strategic plan. This won't be actually on March 24th. That was optimistic, but having it 4 days before town meeting that agenda is not looking short. So it may be on a subsequent April meeting. I think it's the 13th. But
So that's where we discuss our salary raises.
nice. No, and again, it's kind of just I think my understanding is that from time to time, the select board is trying to have the boards and committees it appoints come before and provide a bigger soapbox to kind of say, what's the commission's purpose, provide some transparency with.
Is this a hybrid meeting?
It is a hybrid meeting, so in speaking with the town manager, kind of what other boards and committees have done, they've had, you know, kind of like a 5-minute, I don't want to say presentation, but they've had, you know, kind of taken points from the commission's meetings, and, you know, the vice chair and chair have kind of distilled and presented that to the select board, and then I think there's a little bit, again, I think this may be only 10, 15 minutes max, so it's not, you know, some long, you know, interview, things like that. But it is, you know, they do want to have some visibility with the boards and committees they appoint, and also, again, kind of share if people aren't paying attention, say, to the Conservation Commission's meetings, but they do watch the select boards. It's, you know, again, kind of a greater government transparency.
Do we keep statistics of our work? Like, we had 24 meetings, we had
Oh, yeah.
this many,
The annual report,
40.
how many
Yep.
violations there have been.
How many violations I issued, how many applications were reviewed.
Right.
Yeah, I can certainly provide that. Again,
That's a nice
if-
slide.
yeah, just, you know, kind of, can certainly.
I'm gonna
So you
use the
haven't-
opportunity, I'll tell everybody, all you guys, my opportunity is to selectmen is to ask them about the maintenance problems we have with the East Boston Camp property. That's been going on for years and years, and we have no path forward.
Yeah.
We really don't.
Maintenance or,
No, not the maintenance, operations.
or just, yes,
Rules enforcement.
adherence to rules and regulations.
Yes, right.
And handling of violations.
Yep, we've tried everything we can do, and either we can't, we're not allowed to do it, or we've tried it and it didn't work.
And actually, that's a point,
Requires a lot more than we had money for.
is when,
Well, also they
when the
run the
police
police.
issue a citation or something,
Well, they run.
it's
they
not the
can-
police who issues the fines, it's the courts, correct?
To my understanding, yes.
Did you say again?
Is that if it's an activity for which a fine can be issued, it's not the police officer who issues the fine, it's the courts who actually determine if a fine will be issued and what the amount of it is.
I would have to confirm that, I'm not.
Yeah, I just, something's making me think that it's not left up to a police officer to decide the amount of the fine.
It's hard to enforce, in other words, by the police, right?
They have a limited role in addressing these violations.
Unless it's a criminal thing, like someone's,
Well, then it still goes to the courts.
but then that's.
I think that's
You
a
can get arrested for
different,
that.
Yeah, different court.
Yeah, or, yeah.
Okay. You keep these statistics by year, right?
Yep.
Have they ticked up or down, do you know?
It's surprisingly level.
Okay.
Again, I think like in the past year, enforcement, I think have been more enforcements and more enforcement orders issued. But sometimes that's also kind of, the commission does issue, you know, a friendly enforcement order for somebody to, you know, somebody didn't finish a stormwater basin, and it's like, hey, finish it. You know, we are ordering you.
But even applications and all, you keep them by year? The numbers? Okay.
Again, I can certainly provide, again, it's something to think of. Again, this likely won't be until we can kind of put this on the commission's next agenda, keep it on just as a discussion item if somebody thinks of something in the interim. But I can also get some of those, I'll probably just
But-
screenshot the annual report and dump it in.
But Jim brings up a good point, that the challenge is also an opportunity to raise up challenges where, you know, the authorization that we have is limited, and when we look for options to address a problem and there's nothing that we can physically accomplish, that there is nothing that we can accomplish, it's putting it up there as a request. You know, it basically said, you know, this is where we need help. This is a problem that we can't solve and it needs to be solved.
To show how many years we've had the problem.
Yeah. So, on to the next one.
That's you.
Yeah, so the reappointment process. The select board has also changed their process, that now people whose terms are expiring if you want to be reappointed, you have to fill out a volunteer activity form. And that the commission needs to also reach out to everybody who's filled out a volunteer activity form expressing interest in the commission in the prior 2 years to see if they're still interested and hold interviews. And then the commission,
Pit them against each other.
It's an interview process.
well, there's a,
Okay, that's.
it's not quite clear whether existing commissioners who want to be reappointed have to be interviewed, but new people, but anybody who's expressed interest, I believe, should be given the opportunity to be interviewed.
Yeah,
And-
to come before the commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the commission sends letters to the Board of, well, there's actually a form that's been created where the commission provides information about everybody who's applied, who's been interviewed, and the rationale for the request for reappointment to fill the expiring positions, or the expiring seats. So,
Some of that's all.
yeah,
So in other words, appointments
So
are
like
not
I was just-
automatic, reappointments are.
correct.
Yeah.
So what I had been thinking is, people whose terms are expiring, I believe, are being notified in
Shortly, if not,
March.
yeah.
And the chair of the commission is also being appointed. So my thought is that probably starting at the next meeting, as part of the open forum announcements will be that there's a new reappointment, or there's a new appointment process. If people are interested in serving on the commission, to fill out a volunteer activity form and make that announcement and start reaching out to people who've submitted forms through the month of April, so that we hold interviews in the month of May, so that on June 1st, we can be sending our requests for appointment letters to the select board on the 1st of June, so they have 2 meetings in June to be able to discuss among themselves and make whatever decisions they make on appointments, because we have 3 members whose terms are expiring, mine, Eric's, and Jim. So I want to be sure that we are proactive so that we don't end the year with some or all of those positions not filled going into July 1st.
In the event there's public hearings that continue, say, from June into July.
But I'm still confused, because for instance, mine had come up and I just said I wanted to, and it just.
That was last year.
Right.
Not anymore.
It's
I
changed.
understand.
Okay.
So that means that someone from our board could lose their spot if someone better who was
Yeah.
applying?
Well, no.
If the commission,
No.
Why
I think
not?
that sucks. I think, you know.
again, and so this is I know Margaret and I think the assistant town manager of land use and economic development, while the select board was reviewing and kind of drafting this process, was trying to figure out how to go about this in a manner with which, because Margaret, Marilyn, to your point, yes, you're basically asking to be reappointed and you could not be. Again, there wasn't a process.
How they do that.
There wasn't a process in place previously. It was kind of like a judicial appointment, Hey, everybody's up.
Till you die, right?
It's long,
It's kind of
24 years.
Right.
Yeah.
right, and so if your term was expiring and you were up for reappointment, you submitted yes to the town clerk, and the board committee with which you were serving on may not have had an opportunity to weigh in. Again, this commission has very good attendance, very good participation. Other boards and committees may not have that same degree of regular attendance, and so
Pretty common everywhere.
I hear you. I find it a lot. In my time.
I have to fight for my job.
Because I'm on.
There's no legacy,
Yeah, I'm on
this isn't a judicial appointment, so.
It's a matter of opinion, you know?
And I think existing members, incumbents, have a leg up because they know the process, so they have
But
some, advantage there. And who does interviews?
who what?
So for people who fill out a volunteer activity form that are not currently serving,
Yeah.
the full commission would interview them as we do whenever we have a vacancy.
Right.
So that process will be the same. It's just in the commission's discussion of, we may have 3 people who would like to be reappointed, and we have 2 other people who've expressed interest and have interviewed, and then my thought is the commission as a whole comes up with the 3 candidates that they would like to request the Board of Selectmen to consider appointing, and the form includes a bit of rationale, or I believe
Yes, there's a little bit, there's,
you have to put some reasoning behind your choices.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sure you do.
right. And
It's a
so
very different kind of process.
it is different, yes. But I think, and all boards and committees are presently going through this, and again, I
What's
commend.
the reasoning to change people who are on the board so that some people don't sit?
That you would have to speak to
Yeah.
the board and committee members with which, I can't speak to that. I
Very
can
interesting.
only speak to, I commend Margaret for being proactive and making sure that, public hearings that were started, say, in one fiscal year, carry over into a new fiscal year, and, do not we don't have any interruption in terms of quorum or meeting quorum for public hearings.
Well, and I'm also thinking about you, because part of it is if both your chair and your vice chair have their terms expiring at the end of June, and if you don't have, I'm also thinking business continuity. If we get to our last meeting in June, which is the last meeting, which is after the select board's last meeting in June, if they haven't appointed 3 people to fill the expiring terms starting July 1st, I am going to have an agenda item that says, okay, we need to nominate an interim chair and an interim vice chair, because Matt will need somebody to talk to on July 1st if something comes up. And if anything prevented the select board from making appointments at their first July meeting, or the people they appoint aren't able to get to the clerk to get sworn in, this commission needs to have a chair so that you can actually open and run the meeting.
Yeah. Set the agenda, open the run of the meeting.
Yeah, it just is,
That's
we-
one problem.
we need to, for our own commission, we need to be thinking about what needs to be in place at any point in time so the commission can continue to fulfill its functions.
So by the end of May, we should have all our choices made.
Yes, that if, make it very clear from late June through the month of April, if you're interested, please fill out a volunteer activity form so you can get into the process. And then May, we'll do the interviews, and June 1st, I hope to have a letter headed for the select board.
It's a good process, good plan.
Yep. That was my day job.
And you're still trying to find out if incumbent members will have interviews, right?
I'll have to look at the handbook and the appointment. I don't recall, I was much more familiar with if there was a vacancy.
And yes, because some of it is also for incumbents, looking at their participation in the work of the commission in their 3-year term, is how many meetings, were the,
I don't, this is again where it gets weird. I don't
Yeah.
want it to be like attendance based.
No, but it just-
I mean,
This
it's,
whole committee.
Yeah.
really,
right, it's,
huge.
right.
Yeah.
People who come to this all the time, you know.
Yeah, but it just, if you had somebody who had a lot going on in their life and maybe they missed a third of the meetings.
We don't have that.
No, but if a board or a committee did, that can affect the board or committee's function, especially in the case of public hearings. So, yeah, I mean, we're thinking about it basically from our own perspective, but I think the select board is looking at it across the diversity of their boards and committees, which have different responsibilities and different ways of functioning.
And the town is changing in terms of its diversity as well, so that might, in part, thinking to be more inclusive. But that's my thought sitting here. Doesn't make sense to me, you know, otherwise.
So, anyway. So,
Did I get in under the wire?
so yes, so that's what's coming down the pike. You know, Matt and I have talked about it, and it's what's going to be our approach to comply with the process, and how do we handle it and make sure that the commission can continue to function.
So who's sending notices to people
The town clerk.
early March, like now?
Should, I think when I spoke last week with the town clerk, it was, I think they were going out Friday, but it could be beginning of this week. I'll confirm that they went out, and again, having the chair be a recipient of, I can be like, have you got it yet? Have you got it yet?
Okay. Let's, the clock is ticking, let's kind of,
Yep, and so with the certificate of compliance request for 69 Broadway Street 334-1693, I followed up with an email last Tuesday stating that I haven't gotten any information following up from my August 14, 2025 meeting, or email, so I've not received any response yet, so. If I don't hear back by the commission's next meeting, after the next meeting, I'm gonna say I'm removing this from the commission's agendas because you're not making any, you're not providing any information, new information to us. Please, submit a new certificate of compliance and information when. Yeah, last August, when, the date after, the Thursday after the.
Are we sure that the owner's okay?
I can't say, I don't know anything that's going on, so. So it's on my radar, again, try to clear it up. I don't have any updates on the enforcement in progress, again, as we're now starting to get into cleared snow conditions. I think that's gonna be, people are going to start looking to do things to resolve some of their enforcement actions. I do not, I'm going to switch back to a different tab. I do not have any update on either 20 the Keys Road or 35 Keys Road discussions regarding enforcement. I am planning on attending with respect to the Day Agricultural and Conservation Land with the draft MOU with the Agricultural Commission. I've confirmed with the Agricultural Commission Chair that I will be on their first April meeting, I think their only April meeting, to discuss the draft MOU, which was reviewed and okayed by the Conservation Commission, get their feedback and get this to a point of resolution. Lakeside Meadows, the conservation restriction, and the encroachment and vegetation dumping. Myself, I've organized a meeting with the president of the trust and the property manager. Additionally, attending are both Margaret as chair of the commission, being a co-CR grantee, along with Rich Strazis of the Westford Conservation Trust, who is a co-grantee. Again, it's trying to figure out, some unintentional encroachments that have occurred on the parcels subject to a CR, but trying to figure out kind of next steps forwards to resolve and kind of hopefully the encroachments will cease. I do not have an update on the MOU for the Emmett and the Neshoba Brook conservation areas. With respect to the Stony Brook conservation area, this past Monday, when the weather was nice, I inventoried trees and branches within the parking area and access drive. That will be included as part of the commission's next meeting, kind of just looking at my recommendations for removal, pruning. Again, took a bunch of photos kind of showing representations. That I plan, if amenable to the Conservation Commission, I will send that to the CR grantee for their okay, if it's not otherwise a reserved right to do the pruning. I have to review the conservation restriction for that. In
The PO for the chimney repair?
PO for the chimney repair, I haven't finished them.
Okay, so that's in progress.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
What's the amount of that versus what we got donated, 55,000 or something? From,
something about that, and this ended up, I think, just over 16,000. So
about almost half.
a third.
Okay. The other opportunity that they gave us was to take down some of the buildings that have become essentially graffiti magnets over at the girls' side of the pond. The worst one is the biggest building. I don't know if there's demolition companies we can have come in and ask how much for that building. Okay, too much. How much for this building? Okay, how about these two? We can take down 2 or 3. It would comply with the gift.
Do we also have to look at, because of their age, do we also have to look at, for example, asbestos and lead paint?
Let's let the building take.
Yeah, that's, I mean, that's
The
certainly.
demolition people can take care of whatever they gotta take care of when they cost it out.
Yeah,
And again, I'm sure there's a state contract. I would imagine there's a state contract, again, with which people I may be able to tap into, so that there's, some
so there's
approved
vendors who've
vendor.
done,
Yeah.
okay,
And again, it's sometimes just the nuances.
That was the other
Yeah.
stipulation that the Friends put on that gift money to us.
yeah. The one challenge may be with how gaining access with the necessary equipment to that location. Yeah, but
When they
there
bid-
are
when they-
layers to
when
the
they bid on it-
question.
When they bid on it, they can look at the road that's there.
But some of that is, well, I guess that would fall under maintenance activity. I'm thinking about would equipment access to demolish and remove a building be within the not a prohibited activity under
I
the
don't
CR?
think that would be a prohibited
Okay.
activity. Again, especially because that's associated, kind of conversely, going back to the citation, actually not conversely. I don't think it would off the top of my head because it's a use of, quote unquote, use of the camp areas. That being, the Camp Waukee area on the south side of the pond. Demolition of the camp, I think, would be kind of the last use of said camp. So I think that would, in my opinion, it's certainly consistent. I think it would be, again, it was also identified in the master plan as,
Yeah, that we could either take some of them and use them over.
right, yeah, but, if it's not being used.
Tried to declare them surplus and nobody would take
Oh,
them.
no, we did, I think it was because of the size of the buildings, it was going to be cross prohibitive to,
Right, nobody would take them.
Well, to just transport them, that was the.
Right, because it was
Yeah.
prohibitively expensive to move them.
Yeah.
So nobody would.
What was the stipulation? You said?
There was 2 restrictions on it. One was this, the chimney repair, and that's underway or going to
Yep.
be. and the other one was to take down the buildings on the girls' side of the camp, the ones that aren't used for any purpose.
That's it, they require us to do it.
Well,
No, not required, they gave us $50,000 as a gift from
I
us
see.
is all, and they said, we'd like you to use this money for these items.
Okay.
And if there's any left over, they said, and for what other maintenance purposes it might be.
Yeah.
So the two they specifically identified were chimney repairs and girls' building demolition.
Okay.
And if there's any money left over, which there won't be, but if there is, we could use it for other purposes.
On to the Edwards Woods, I don't have an update for that. Both Hill Orchard and the Day Agricultural Fields, I've had interested parties reach out. So that's
For
Sorry.
day?
Hmm?
For the day, parcel?
both. Yeah,
Oh.
Different people for both.
different people for both. Yeah. So it's again just kind of getting my ducks in a row and release the request for proposals for again review. Again, I'd like when those are released, I'll certainly be asking for commissioners to weigh in and review and kind of provide comments as to, again, there's a request for proposals, so there's a little bit more kind of interview and discretion by the commission. Freedom Park improvements, I don't have presently anything at this time, nor do I have anything with respect to the Summer Village Conservation Restriction Amendment.
Well, Freedom Park, I think, so the CP.
Oh, yeah, the select board recommended all of the CPC project, or CPA projects with which are on the annual town meeting warrant, and of which the commission has two.
And there's detail in the town meeting stuff, right, about that? We can.
Yes, yep, and it's also on the CP, Community Preservation Committee's webpage.
Okay.
On to the minutes.
Yes.
Have people had an opportunity to review the minutes for January 28th? Any comments or questions?
We had those last.
Yes, they
Yeah,
were provided at
and
the
we-
last meeting, they're included again in the meeting packet.
Yeah, we didn't vote last time. I gave Matt one editorial kind of extraneous word, but one of the questions that I had was on page 3, under 120 Main Street. The second sentence said, the owner had failed to put the pool conditions into the deed. But I thought it was that the developer had failed to put the notice.
Yes, the developer had not put the required language in the deed as required.
So it was the developer, not the owner.
Yep.
Okay.
If you look at grammatical stuff, I found one.
Okay.
It was in Malibu's. That's page 3. I forget where it is now.
The third sentence. He and the contractor was decided.
Oh,
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Did you see that too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then on page 5, where there was talk about under Stony Brook Conservation Area, the EBC signage, this was the meeting at which Jim said, oh, yeah, the signs now have the right citation.
Yep.
So we needed to note that so we could say this one's checked off. Okay, any other comments on the January 28th meeting? Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended for January 28th, 2026?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'm gonna abstain because I wasn't there.
Okay, so Ann will abstain. February 11th minutes. I had an editorial correction, the last line on page 1. It
To
w-
modify
Well, it wasn't,
the third word.
yeah, the 2 twos. Okay, and on page 2, under 37 Powers Road, that, just a minor thing, that the test results would be forwarded to the commission's agent as opposed to naming you personally. And also, just for clarity, on page 3, under 50 Lakeside Drive South,
Wait, 50 Lakeshore North or 40 Lakeshore South?
50 Lakeshore, 50 Lakeshore North, because it says 2 trees were supposed to be planted following the replacement of the septic tank in 2019, but did not appear that they were, and it read, to my ear, it sounds better, but it did not appear.
Okay.
Huh?
I understood it, it doesn't matter, it makes it a
Yeah.
little more clear.
And also, under the discussion for the Lakeside Meadows encroachments, it talks about open space parcel, and it's actually open space parcels, because multiple parcels have encroachments. The subdivision has a lot more open space parcels.
Page 5, it does say that,
That's where the S
open space parcels.
No, in the second line, right below it, it says open space parcel subject to the CR.
Second,
There's
Yeah,
multiple encroachments on multiple open space parcels. It's all subject to the CR.
okay. And that was the extent of my comments.
Your grammar, please.
I was an English major.
I'm not knocking you.
I was not.
I was an unwilling English major. Well, I shouldn't say I wasn't unwilling, but anyway.
I appreciate the
Yeah, I just,
review.
so, yeah. Well, and to be honest, this all goes back to Randolph Circle when our denial of something got challenged in court, and the minutes were part of what the court looked at in terms of why we decided what we did, and our decision was upheld. So it's kind of like, okay. You know, I look at the minutes and I say, if this ever got to court, what do I want to make sure the minutes, how much detail or what do I want to make sure that they reflect? So that, because, nobody comes in and asks us to talk about it, so the minutes are our last chance. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes for February 11th, 2026 as amended?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Aye.